It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com. It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
We watched Lucas run away in the race yesterday, but remember, the qualifying gap was only 0.2. If he wants that valuable track position, he'll have to push hard as we get ready for qualifying number 2 this weekend in the Ford Mustang Cup North America. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. The drivers are back, Joey. Let's hope they've learned something from yesterday.
Oh, they definitely have learned something. Remember, yesterday was our first race of the season, so all of these drivers and teams still trying to really figure out the handle on these cars, the perfect setup on these cars, and I think the class of the field was definitely, we saw Will kind of run away from it, and then also this number 68 car, Craig Capaldi, in the Legends class, because remember, we got the Dark Horse class as well as the Dark Horse Legends class, and that number 68 took home the win, which was actually second overall as well.
Exactly. So there will be 9 cars out there, but as Joey alluded to, we have 2 classes racing, and if you look for the red boxes, that's going to be your Dark Horse class, and the Dark Horse Legends will be in the blue boxes. Now, if you're joining us for the first time and didn't see yesterday's racing, we're here at beautiful NOLA Motorsports Park, a track that has a bit of a slower first and last sector, but the middle sector so very, very swift, Joey, and as we found from the driver, there's going to be a lot of management in the car during that point.
Lots of management with the front end of the car because this is an incredibly flat racetrack, and they get up to some pretty good speeds there in Sector 2. Like you were saying, Sector 1, Sector 3, a little bit more technical around this place. And another big talking point was this front straightaway, nearly 150 miles an hour, but the drivers were just absolutely raving about the brake package on these cars. They stand on the pedal, and the thing just slows down.
That means passing going to be a bit tricky. We saw drivers have trouble, despite the high speeds, managing to get to the inside down into the brake zone there. So could see some importance with this qualifying session. And the drivers, of course, find themselves with a little bit of weather conditions as well, Joey, as it's been warming up today. Yesterday was nice and cool, but it's already getting a little hot out there.
Yeah, we were talking to Miller Richmond after the race yesterday, and he's based here in New Orleans, so it's a good kind of data reference for us. And he said, this is California warm, right? There's no humidity in the air. There was a nice breeze yesterday, but right now, ambient air temperature is about as hot as it got yesterday. So once we get to actual race time, the cars, the drivers, they're going to be feeling the heat.
A couple of them clumped together here as the 14 of Strauss has a whole team behind him coming onto the back stretch. Definitely want to keep that open air in front of himself as you see them just glance on the brakes down into the 9 and 10 Swift S's here at the back half of the course. And actually pulling off the racing line a little bit there is the 8 of Buell, almost looking like he wants to get that track position away from him.
So it's important in qualifying to kind of have your own racetrack, and you see even John Strauss there in that number 14 car. He had a terrific battle for what I believe was about 4th or 5th place overall yesterday, but Cale was just a little bit ahead of him on the racetrack. So that second car in line, that white car with the green highlights, I think that he's probably going to want to rethink at least this opening lap. When you start qualifying, you want a clean windshield, and if you know you're faster than the car in front of you, sometimes it's good to let off, or in this case, just drive right by him on the front straightaway if you can.
That's also Andrew Hords just behind him in the 23 giving chase. And another driver that we've talked a lot about this, watching those that might be a little bit faster than you and picking up some tips here and there, and he does look like he's keeping pace with them.
Yeah, he's doing a nice job, but a lot of these drivers are also brand new to NOLA Motorsports Park, so every single session out there is going to be a learning session, and sometimes some drivers like to do video review, some drivers like to do data review, and some drivers, they just kind of like a carrot out in front of them to essentially go and chase.
Different lines between them all coming through 3, 4, and 5, but they haven't separated either. Remember, this is a qualifying session, so they probably will want to get themselves a little bit of room and try to get themselves some clear air. But the three seem content to be kind of riding in a train at this stage. Not really a track that we'll talk about slipstreaming all that much, so kind of odd that we'll see them together at this point. I also saw the bright green car of Griffin with us, Shane out there taking over the car after Chase had a very good race yesterday in the machine, but they are the only team that is sharing the car because, as a reminder, this is also for the Parnelli Cup. The two races that we cover over these weekends are two different championships, while it looks like Cale is going to finally get that track position he wanted.
Well, and I saw that Andrew here in this purple number 23 also took the opportunity. So John Strauss off the back straightaway there, just kind of pulled off driver's left. Either that or he got in a little bit too deep. But this is great confidence, right, for this number 23, is that if he can go out there, even if it's just qualifying, even if it's not the race, and go out there and kind of improve his own racecraft, it's also going to pick up the lap time. So I think that this is a good learning session here for that number 23 of Andrew Hords.
Yeah, he's been making great strides. This is his first professional racing he's done. This is our first weekend of this brand new Mustang Cup series, and has been picking it up. We've been watching the pace increase session after session, as now we turn our attention to Shane. Still hasn't put a time on the board. In fact, now he's the last one waiting to do so, as Miller Richmond moves up to second in class. So the Dark Horse class sees him fourth overall. Miller with some good pace. Lucas currently our overall pole and our Dark Horse pole.
Yeah, and I mean, you blink a couple times and we're already halfway through this 15-minute qualifying session. And you're right, Will Lucas up there, a 1:45.5. That's actually a little bit faster than what we saw out of him yesterday. I think the outlier for me is definitely that white number 68 of Craig Capaldi. It's actually about, call it a half second, maybe 3/4 of a second off of where he qualified yesterday. But remember, those two drivers, the number 34 and the number 68, they did their qualifying effort and came right back into the pits. They did not want to burn any extra rubber off of those Yokohama tires. And in fact, I already see Will Lucas entering pit lane.
Yeah, we need to remember that one of the rules they have for this series is kind of mid-20 teens F1 style, where the tire that you put your lap on, you have to go and race on. So these drivers won't want to put too many laps on their cars in this session. We'll see probably once they get one that they're satisfied with, they'll park it and not take part in the rest of the qualifying, just to try and save that rubber underneath them. Lucas the first, as you mentioned, to do so, as we watch on board the 8 of Cale Buell, who looked fast initially. As he crosses the line this time, he jumps up. He is now quicker than Richmond, taking second in that class.
That's kind of what I was expecting out of Cale. He showed a lot of good speed yesterday and was kind of right on the back of what was a third-place battle overall. And to see him kind of the meat and the sandwich of that trio to start qualifying, at least in my opinion as a driver, was a little bit odd. You always want to have that clean windshield. I'd mentioned some drivers drive a little bit different. Maybe the carrot out in front is a good thing to chase, but when you know you've got the speed, you've got the confidence to go out there and do it, I prefer to have my own racetrack. And now that Cale has his own piece of racetrack, he's laying down fast times again.
And I mean, we were talking to the team owner, Leo, and he had nothing but praise for Cale, especially considering he is another driver. This is his first professional race. He's had track days, so there is some raw speed underneath that helmet.
Definitely, and part of the Mustang Cup is this ladder series with Ford, and this really, call it the semi-professional level, and it's where you go and fine-tune your racecraft. You learn how to do this wheel-to-wheel stuff, especially in these big, heavy, front-engine, rear-drive V8 cars. It's not always easy to place this car exactly where you want it to, and you're right, Cale has shown a tremendous amount of speed early on.
Still, only one car parked so far, and no wonder. Lucas about 9/10 ahead of overall Capaldi, who's kind of been his rival this weekend. And we mentioned yesterday he had him within 2/10 up for the pole. This is a lot farther apart, and now Craig has actually just parked the car. So has Nick Smither, who sits in third. Smither also a little bit off of Craig, so not sure if he's going to be a problem for him. But now we watch to see as Cale does complete another lap here, so let's see if he can get any closer, maybe on the overall front row.
He showed his fastest first sector, and yes, he does improve his lap time down to a 49.417. That's what it was that last time by. So was able to at least improve it, but does not actually jump up on the board quite yet.
John Strauss, though, just did. He moves up into 6th position overall. That'll be 3rd in the Dark Horse Legends class that he'll be racing. It's Andrew Hordes behind him, then Bobko in 8th. Andrew actually 7th overall. Actually pretty good for Andrew.
Yeah, I think that he's picking up pretty much right where he left off yesterday, and it was just constantly improving throughout the day. And I think I could say the same thing about the majority of the field. I think we were making the comment as the checkered flag was pretty much falling that some of these drivers, call it back 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, they were actually turning their fastest laps of the race towards the end.
Continue to watch Cale on screen, and that number 8, sponsored by a Mustang dealer actually out of Texas. And he's trying to do his best to help sell those cars for his sponsor. Is doing a pretty good job so far this weekend with some impressive pace on this NOLA Motorsports Park circuit. Looking for the brake marker down into turn 11 once again as we turn our attention back to Hordes now, also following him through. Andrew's first sector wasn't great, but second sector is a personal best. Could he jump up yet one more?
So Andrew's last lap time of 51.7. Let's see what his fastest lap time is, 51.3. So that's what he's trying to go out there and chase. But directly in front of him, granted it's not for the same class, it is John Strauss at a 51.2. So all that this purple number 23 has to do is call it pick up 2/10, pick up a quarter of a second, and he will leapfrog up a position if he can.
Looks like that one's not going to do it, unfortunately. So last lap for him, a 51.4. Still very close. That's only a 10th off of his best time. Apparently finding the consistency out there, which is another big step for a new racer.
When we come to race time, 100%. I think qualifying, there's a few different approaches like we've talked about already, but you don't want to overheat your stuff. You don't want to burn up your stuff as we watch the number 4 here of Shane Griffin go around the track. Of course, he had mentioned his buddy Chase Cochran was the one racing the car yesterday. But when it comes to qualifying, I think that drivers can get caught up in what they're doing. And if they make a mistake, they continue on with the lap, which is okay, right, if you're just trying to do laps out there. But when it comes to qualifying, you kind of have to think of it as time trials. If you made a mistake, in my opinion, throw away the lap, right? Cool everything down. There's no need to overheat the car as we see Shane bring it into pit lane here. So it's all a learning experience, especially for the young drivers.
Yeah, so that'll leave just Buell, Strauss, Hordes, and Bobko out on the track. Shane is very much stressed that he's here for fun this weekend. That Chase, he admits himself, Chase is kind of the hot shoe between the two of them. And as long as Chase has a good race, that takes the pressure off of him. He was saying that he can just go out there and enjoy himself and get to experience what it's like being out here in a professional race. As we watch Bobko now sitting in 8th in class. He's about a few tenths off of the next one up, Andrew Hordes. Let's see what this lap looks like, as the first sector was his personal best. Second sector was a decent one, but not an improvement. Now he has to try and navigate through 11, 12, 13, and 14.
As we watch this red 98 Bobko, we were just talking about Shane and Chase, and I got to ask you, Joe, you think maybe if Shane borrowed the beard, it would pick up a little bit of time?
You know, maybe. I mean, Shane has his own beard that looks decent enough, but it definitely is. It sort of pales in comparison to Chase's. We were saying yesterday, if you haven't met him yet, it's a giant red beard. You can't miss him out in the paddock. But everybody out here, honestly, in this Mustang Cup crew is really a character. I do enjoy getting to know everybody here in this brand new series. If this is what we have in store for us, this is going to be a fun season.
100%. I think the personalities in the paddock have been fantastic. We've got everybody from these young hot shoe kids, right, who are really trying to go out there and prove themselves and kind of progress up through the ranks, to a lot of guys that are coming out here in road racing for the first time. And I think that's the perfect example of what the Mustang Cup is.
On board with Cale, still doing his best to try and get some more out of it. Let's remember that the more he runs on these tires, the more he's going to take out of them for the race itself. But with him being so fresh-faced to this, he could use the track time. So this will be helpful regardless. Just you have to wonder what it will do when it comes time for the points payout.
Well, and to your point, that last lap time out of this white and green number 8 was actually his fastest at a 48.98. And so as a driver, when you see that lap time pop up on the dash, you feel, hey, you know what, I can go even faster. You got a good momentum going on. And yeah, we got the checkered flag already out for this session. So Cale comes down the front straightaway here. He's going to try to beat that 48.98. And he does, a 148.76. So he improves his lap time.
Still not quite there to be third overall. That'll be a little bit annoying for Cale because his next goal is Lucas, who is up at the front, but he'll have two of the Dark Horse Legends cars separating himself on the grid. Hordes does not improve. Bobco going to be our next one in that bright red machine crossing the line. The 98 is going to improve down to a 51.6, but he stays in that 8th position, 4th in class, which will be the last of our cars to end our qualifying session. That means Will Lucas will be unofficially your pole sitter, with Capaldi Craig starting there in P2, but pole sitter for the DHL class. Then Nick Smithers starting from 3rd. After that, it'll be Cale Buell in 4th. Miller Richmond in P5. John Strauss starting from 6th. Andrew Horde 7th. And then Walter Bobco 8th. And Shane Griffin rounding out your 9-car field here at NOLA Motorsports Park. We've got more racing left to come today, including race number 2. It's Parnelli Cup here in Mustang Cup at this fantastic facility in Louisiana.